On this week's episode of the Best of Johnston County Podcast, our guest is Jason Hurd, the brand new band director at the brand new Wilson's Mills High School that opens here in Johnston County in August of 2026. We talked to Jason about his growing up in Smithfield, his time in East Carolina, how you get a bunch of high school kids to all act and march in the same direction, how you build a culture within your band, and how you could use it to build a culture within your business, and what he's looking forward to with the brand new high school. So if you're interested in marching band, culture building, and how to do things the right way, listen in.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County, brought to you by Breeden Law Office. Our host, Jonathan Breeden, an experienced family lawyer with a deep connection to the community, is ready to take you on a journey through the area that he has called home for over 20 years. Whether it's a deep dive into the love locals have for the county or unraveling the complexities of family law, Best of Johnston County presents an authentic slice of this unique community.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Best of Johnston County Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden. And on today's episode, we have the brand new Wilson's Mills High School, brand new high school here in Johnston County, band director, Jason Hurd. And many of y'all know that he was the band director at Cleveland High School from its inception until the end of the last school year. We're going to talk to him a little bit about his growing up here in Johnston County. He's worked at several different high schools here in Johnston County, what he tries to do with his band, how he gets teenagers to listen, which all parents of teenagers could use, and a little bit about the new high school and their principal, Chad Jewett, and who's going to be going there, and his vision for the band he will build there at Wilson's Mills. I think they are called the Green Wave. And so I'm looking forward to that. But before we get to that, we'd like to ask you to like, follow, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you see it, whether you're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, X, LinkedIn, or any of the other social media channels of the Best Johnston County Podcast. The Best Johnston County Podcast comes out every single Monday and has now for over 2.5 years. So go back and listen to some of our previous episodes, including with the Smithfield Selma band director, Brian Jones, most of the county commissioners now, Congressman Brad Knott, the county manager, Rick Hester. We've had a lot of great guests. If you love Johnston County as much as I do, this is a podcast for you. Welcome, Jason.
Well, thank you for having me.
I've tried to get you to come do this for the last couple of years, and now that you're at Wilson's Mills, you're here, and I'm looking forward to this. Should be an interesting conversation. Yes. I'm the biggest Cleveland high school supporter in the world, and so I've seen your bands for 15 years, however long the school's been there. So anyway, but before we get into where they ended up, let's talk about where you're from. You grew up in Smithfield, I think?
I grew up in Smithfield, and actually, I was a student at Wilson Mills Elementary. So I was a Green Wave growing up, and then went through the Smithfield Middle School and high school, part of music all the way through all of it. Went to East Carolina University.
Yeah. I know. I was going to give you a little bit of a hard time about that.
Yeah, so go Pirates. But long story short, my mom taught in the county for 30 plus years. So she was a teacher here, grew up here. She would pack me when I was sick. She'd pack me up in the car. She'd take me to Clayton High School when I was sick, and I'd sleep in the back of the room when you could do that. So, I've just been a part of this county and the school system forever. My first teaching job was actually at Four Oaks Middle School. And I graduated in December and started the second or third day of January.
Oh man,
so
that was fast.
That was a fast turnaround. But at the end of that year, I transferred over to the Clayton High School, which was my first high school job. I was there for 5 or 6 years, and I got married, and I decided I needed to make more money, so I spent 1 year in Wake County.
Okay, well,
just 1 year.
That's true.
So,
were you were not the band director at Clayton, were you?
I was the band director.
You were I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
From 2000.
I thought you were the assistant.
No, 2000, 2006, I was the band director at Clayton.
Okay.
And then I went to Wake County for a year. Came back to Smithfield with Mr. Jones for 3 years. And then when Cleveland opened up, it was a great opportunity to move over there with Miss Meredith and open up the school, and have spent the 16 wonderful years at Cleveland.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Golly, we were talking before we started recording that of the OGs when the school opened, the only one that I know that is left is Coach Capps, the athletic director, because it was the football coach, and now he's left, and Scott Riley, and it was really I thought about it, and then you had the former athletic director, but he's retired too, so it's like like it was sort of like y'all were the ones that were left. And now I may be wrong, but it might be Coach Capps might be the only original person left.
Miss Sauls is back, so she was there since the inception, and
Okay.
there are a handful or two, but
Okay.
we're down to single digits now.
Single digits,
and that's either through retirement or not teaching, or new schools and up and moves. So.
Yeah, I mean that's wild. I mean they have had the same principal for at least 10 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, well, cool. So what is going to be the same and what is going to be different in building the Wilson's Mills program from scratch and building the Cleveland program from scratch 16 years ago?
Well, 16 years ago when Cleveland opened up, we were pulling from one or two schools. There was West Johnston that was overcrowded. South Johnston was a little overcrowded. So I could pinpoint the students that were coming to the school. Tracking down the kids was a lot easier. I could also ride the West Johnston wave because that's when West Johnston had the best band in the state and on the East Coast. They were going to Macy's and all of that kind of good stuff. So I could really pinpoint the students that were coming. Now, Wilson's Mills is a little bit different because we're pulling from 11 different schools, 6 middle schools and 5 high schools. And that's just Johnston County Public Schools. That's not counting the kids from ALA or maybe Thaley. So we're in the middle of the county and we were pulling from everywhere.
Right. And so where is the new Wilson's Mills High School?
Well, if you've ever been to Wilson's Mills, if you go over the railroad tracks and turn on Main Street, you go all the way down Main Street and you turn on Towton Farm Road, and it is really located in the middle of the beautiful Greenway fields it's kind of off there by itself.
Okay. So if I was going there from Clayton, how would I get there? A lot of people have never been to Wilson's Mills and listen to this podcast.
I usually don't go from Clayton. So if I were going from Clayton, I'd go down 70. I would turn on 42. I would turn down Buffalo Road.
Okay.
And just keep going straight until you get to Wilson's Mills. And it's the road right before the railroad track.
Okay.
Which is right there near the police department, I believe.
Okay.
You turn left right there and you take it all the way down until you can't go anymore and you take a left.
Okay.
And you drive through the fields. And boom,
there's the school.
Beautiful brand new school.
Well, and we had Adrian O'Neill with the county parks department here, and there is a walkway on the river there behind the school that's going to be a greenway, and I think it's going to be maybe a mile or 2 miles long.
Oh, nice.
Where you'll be able to walk, or I think it's going to be paved, so maybe walk or ride there behind the school. There at the new Wilson Mills High School, and that should be opening about the same time as the school, I believe. Adrian was on, maybe 8 or 9 months ago now, but that was the plan when he was on. So it's going to be a good community center as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about the new school here in a minute. But let's go back to your time at Cleveland. You had tremendous success, arguably the best band program in the state, one of the best programs probably in the Southeast. That just doesn't happen. Right. How did that happen?
Well, first of all, it's a trusting administration who allows you to do what needs to be done to be successful and trust you to be successful. But I think it all starts with the culture and building the culture within the parents and the kids. And I think every part of Cleveland wants to be great. It's just a great community of students and kids and parents. And, my mom always said, surround yourself with good people. And from day one, I surrounded myself with good people, whether it be people I brought in to help build that culture or to teach the students. Our values were aligned. Getting the culture in place helped the band excel at an extremely fast level.
Okay. And so what were the tenets of that culture?
For us, because the Cleveland community, as they came in, we focus on the standard as the standard. This is how a band should act, but we also talk about how this is how you should act too. I talk about with a lot of colleagues, it's processes before goals. But yes, we have a lot of goals, but the goals are a byproduct of everything you do to accomplish those goals. And then when those goals go away, the processes are still going to be there. And now you're on to the next goal. So although you've accomplished something, you still have that foundation laid to keep on moving. The one thing about the band world is the students never stop working, the parents never stop working, the staff never stops working. And, to have those processes in place, doesn't matter if we're doing marching band, doesn't matter if we're doing winter guard, winter winds, winter percussion, the processes carry over from activity to activity, which really made the whole program, grow and continue to grow.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Carolina Hurricanes just won the Stanley Cup. I'm a big Hurricanes fan, and in their locker room, off the side of their locker room is their weight room,
right.
And there's a sign in there that says basically, our standard is the standard.
Right.
It's on the wall. I think I'm right. That's what it says. And Rod Brindamore has a way that he wants things done, and he requires a tremendous amount of work and a tremendous amount of discipline from professional hockey players and multimillionaires. And some players come there and they don't want to work that hard.
Right.
You had Mikko Rantanen was there for a while, and he's one of the greatest players in the world. He's like, I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to have to play both ends. I don't want to have to play this man-to-man defensive system he plays. And he got himself traded out of there. Right. And so it's not for everybody. Nope. I mean, would you say that would be the same thing about
the Cleveland I would say
band?
That's the same thing with students, because as a ninth grader, they don't know what they're getting into. So you've got to kind of teach them the Cleveland way, or what's getting ready to be the Wilson's Mills way. And this is what great bands do to be successful, but this is also what great people do to be successful. And I know eventually there's a learning curve within the first few weeks, but eventually they start to see the progress and the accomplishment of just tiny things that they change in their behavior, which make them operate on a higher level, and their parents appreciate that too. So,
well, right. Because ultimately, being in a band is about discipline.
Yes.
That to me. I've never was really in a band, but as I watch your bands and other bands, and I went to Scotland High School, and Scotland High School, they wear the kilts. They've been in the Macy's Parade. They're one of the top bands. I don't know if they still are, but when I was there, they got to go to the Macy's Parade. My sister got a chance to march in the Philadelphia Thanksgiving Parade as well. And so, I watched that process of what they did, and it really was discipline. You know what I mean? And my sister was a Highland dancer and did the flags and all of that. And I think that there was a discipline in how they went about doing things there that I think followed her into her adult life. You know what I mean? Is that ultimately, we're just trying to make people better.
Well,
ultimately we want a good band, but really this is about making young adults better.
Well, absolutely. So there's a lot of personal accountability, right? Which, let's face it, we're not all personally accountable, but I'm also a sports guy and I love to watch sports, but you compare band to sports. If you have a 300 batting average in baseball, you're probably going to be in the All-Star game.
Yep.
If you're shooting 40% from the 3-point arch, you're probably going to be in the All-Star game. If you're playing 40% of your notes correctly in band, you're probably not very good. Right. So everybody has to be accountable, and everybody has to do everything correctly all the time in order for the group to be successful.
So and I asked Brian Jones this when he was on a couple of years ago, how do you get 200 14 to 17-year-olds to walk in the same direction?
Well, that goes back to the process. Everything we do from the way we line our instruments up, from the way the teaching process, that it's all about the process. And so that way, if you've ever watched a rehearsal, certain groups rehearsals, there's a process in place. Everybody, all 200 kids understand the process. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. One thing leads to another, and then it just becomes a natural routine. But then that natural routine takes it into the performance. So everything you do in that rehearsal bleeds over into rehearsal, and it just becomes second nature at that point.
I got you. It was very expensive to be in your band.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that have opinions about that.
Oh, absolutely.
$1,500 a kid, I think, to be in the marching band. Is that fair? Does everybody get a chance to be in the band? And is that necessary?
I think it depends on what your goals are. And everybody does have an opportunity because, fortunately for Cleveland and most band booster programs, they have scholarships and they have ways for students to make it through, even if they can't pay, because they don't turn kids away. Nobody turns kids away. One, it's not educational, and band should be everybody. Because if you look at most band rooms, we are truly the melting pot of the school, and it's welcoming to everybody. I think what you don't see when you see that price tag are all the things that you do get, because there's a lot of traveling involved, and that the cost of traveling is expensive, particularly when you're moving that many students. I don't teach band alone, and there's an incredible staff that at Cleveland we put in front of the students, and for better or worse, you pay for what you get. And the better someone is, the higher their price tag is. And sometimes they value themselves out and we have to move on to somebody else. And that's okay too. But band is an expensive thing. And most people don't know what goes into making a successful high school band program. Our band was not even on the higher end within Johnston and Wake County. And it was actually probably on par, if not right there in the middle range of what people charge around here. But yet we were finding ways to do more with less. The other thing that people don't see with that is the budget was much higher than what the students were actually paying. The parents at Cleveland work extremely hard. And, it takes a village to raise a child. And the one thing about Cleveland, and I hope we can make that happen at Wilson Mills, is the village was strong. And they were constantly there for their students. They were constantly raising money, hosting 3 or 4 major local and regional competitions a year where over 60 schools would attend. So, I think that number is deceiving.
Okay. I mean, I know they work the concession stand at Lenovo Center and they work a concession stand at the Walnut Creek Amphitheater. Right. And, you had the big critique every year in September. And I mean, I don't know. If you stay there for 14 hours, like there's over 1,000 kids go through that are going to perform that day. You know, absolutely. I know last year's got rained out, which was disappointing, but so I mean, I know they're raising a ton of money, but I'm glad to hear that everybody and I've given scholarships to kids to go there when y'all call and ask me. Happy for my office to be able to do that. But I did want to hear somebody say that we're not going to turn somebody away because that's a lot of money. And I know everybody thinks everybody in Cleveland's rich, but that is not the case.
No, band should be for everybody. Music should be for everybody.
Right. That's the point.
And sometimes kids come to the band and they're not good for the band, but the band's good for them. And that also goes for students who may or may not be able to pay.
Right. So, I got you. So,
have family law questions? Need guidance to navigate legal challenges? The compassionate team at Breeden Law Office is here to help. Visit us at www.breedenfirm.com for practical advice, resources, or to book a consultation. Remember, when life gets messy, you don't have to face it alone.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen with Wilson Mills. It opens with a 9th and 10th graders.
Yep.
The school at this point is not exactly sure how many kids are going to be there, but you think it might be 600 this year?
Well, so we're opening with 9th and 10th graders and, 10th graders and some 9th graders, depending on where their siblings are, have the option to stay at their school. So right now, the last I heard this week, we were 560-ish, which is increasing every day. All that paperwork still going through from all the other schools and the process of the paperwork.
But the school's built to hold 2,300 students?
The school's built to build, I believe, almost 2,300. It's massive.
A massive school.
It's a big school with lots of classrooms. So if you drive out there, there's a huge 3-story wing that holds all of the academic areas, which is cool because branching off of that wing is the fine arts and athletic wing, which is pretty cool, which I've never been in a setup like that.
Okay, well, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. And I mean, it's a beautiful school. Like, I would encourage everybody to follow their Facebook pages. Yeah. I don't know who's doing those videos, but they're doing a really nice job with them. And I mean, it looks like the nicest school I've ever seen. I mean, it really is. And it's all green. Well, it's green, a lot of green.
So the question for you, do you know where the green wave comes from?
I do not know where the green wave comes from.
I did not either, and I went to Wilson Mills Elementary. So the green wave comes from the agriculture blowing in the wind.
Okay.
Which creates a green wave.
Oh, how about that?
So I had no idea.
Okay.
But it's cool because when you go up into the second floor, like we're surrounded by the field, and you can actually see the green waves go through the fields that surround the school because we are surrounded by fields in every direction.
Oh my goodness, that's wild.
It's beautiful.
So they're going to have a JV football team this year.
Yes.
And they're going to have a JV volleyball team. I know a couple of kids that are already out there practicing for that. And I guess they're going to have a JV men's soccer team. I mean, basically they're going to try to have all the normal sports, but just have a JV version of it.
No, well, I could be wrong.
Okay.
They're going to try to do JV and varsity in every sport but football.
Oh, okay.
So football is the only thing that we're not in a conference yet.
Okay.
And that will field a JV football team. So as long as students are there to field the teams,
they're
going to field the teams. As long as students show up to tryouts, they're going to find the coaches to field the teams.
Okay.
So right now, I heard this week we'll be in the 2A conference.
Okay.
With everything but football.
Right. And eventually, once you have a full student body, you'll probably end up in the conference with Cleveland and Triple S and
I would
Clayton
think
more
so.
than likely.
I would think so.
That would because you're going to be as big as they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, that's cool. So, what is the plan for the band? I mean, you're going to build this thing from scratch. I think somebody told me you're going to have a pep band this year.
Yeah, well, this year, again, it's kind of odd because we're coming from 11 different schools. So I said earlier I could pinpoint the kids when they were coming to Cleveland. This is not as easy to pinpoint because of all the different directions they're coming from. So, for me, this year is going to be all about building the culture, supporting the community, because I don't know if you've met anyone from the Wilson Mills community, but it's a very small community, but they're a very proud community. I met the mayor last week, and some of the folks who have just been part of that community since they were born and went to the original school are just absolutely proud that this new school is happening out there. So I kind of want to pay it forward and give back to them. So it's going to be a slower start than to Cleveland, but I think once we find the kids and once we find the parents, we're going to start out walking, but I think by probably October, we'll be able to start running a little bit.
I got you. And I know you're hoping to maybe do a winter guard this winter.
Yeah, absolutely. So my plan, my goal is to support community. So we'll be at the football games, we'll be at the community events. I want to start a jazz band that's going to be out and that can go out and play for some of our sponsors and kind of play at some of the school events that are there. We will be starting a winter guard. We are partnering with First Flight Winter Guard. And I don't know if you know anything about them, but it's a color guard for people to go when they graduate from high school. Their ages are from 19 to 21.
Okay.
And they actually won WGI last year. So we're kind of partnering out with them where they're going to kind of help us out. We're going to kind of help them out in return. So the Winter Guard program will be started. The goal is to build the band parent organization. So next year when we're ready to literally take that step forward out in marching band, they have the foundation from the parents, and the parents understand the culture, the students understand the culture, and understand the expectations that come with having a group that is ready to compete and ready to be successful.
So the point is you want to try to build a competition band at Wilson's Mills just like you had at Cleveland.
Maybe, I don't know to that extent, because I think with Cleveland, I'm going to say we built it from the outside in. So we started out with all the pageantry, and then from the pageantry, I had to kind of work myself into the musicianship from the inside. I don't know if that makes sense or not. And with Wilson Mills, I'm going to build it from the inside out. Start with the musicianship, start with some of the things that kind of got glossed over at Cleveland because I was having to teach them how to march and play. With Wilson Mills, I want to focus on the music fundamentals and really instill that culture. So that way, when we are ready to march, they can already play.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay, that does make sense because I don't know. I always thought the hardest part was teaching them to march, but it might be teaching them to actually play the instrument.
Well, it's yes. The answer is yes and yes. The marching band is what everybody sees, but the education really takes place in the classroom. And it really takes place with teaching them how to play, because when it's at the end of the day, it's band and it's music education. And a lot of the times when we're doing marching band, we have to sacrifice a lot of the music education to teach them how to march. So it's going to give us an opportunity to make sure they are musically sound to be ready to play.
All right. Well, that sounds exciting. Yeah. I know you need sponsorships. How can people reach out and sponsor? I mean, everybody, the athletic department, I mean, they're starting from absolute scratch and they don't get quite as much as you might think they get from the county to get started. But so how people can sponsor you or the athletic department or the school?
Well, if you want to sponsor the band, you can contact anybody at the school. But my email is jasonhurd@johnston.k12.nc.us. We're in the process when we're starting from nothing. We're starting our band parent organization. We just got our incorporated and we're working on our 501c3. So we are truly starting from scratch, from zero. So, and there's not many businesses or people out in the Wilson Mills areas to contact. So anybody from Johnston County who's had a student in band, I met with a company yesterday and it was a virtual meeting and there were 6 of us in the meeting and 5 of them had been in band before. So if you've been in band before and you want to support a good cause, email me, call me at the school. We are in the process of starting the web page and the Facebook page, so that information will be out.
All right, cool. And it's Hurd, Heard.
Yeah, like I heard.
Right, like you heard, not HURD.
No.
Because when I went to Google and get information about you, I accidentally spelled your name wrong. And there is a band director in Tennessee,
Yes.
HURD.
Right.
You may have met him. I don't know. So anyway, well, cool. So people can reach out to you through the email,
Yes,
reach out
please.
to the school. And I mean, what excites you most about this new school? I know you're a big fan of Mr. Jewett, the new
Yes.
principal there. I mean, what do you think is going to make this unique? I mean, what's got you excited?
I think I'm a musician and I'm a band director, but I think I'm also a builder. It excites me to take a new group of students and build them and shape them and educate and the parents what high school band can be. And it's different everywhere. And so that always excites me. We had a saying in the band when we started at Cleveland, when you go from 0 to 1, you've improved 100%.
Right.
So, it's always exciting when you take a new group of students and they accomplish one little thing.
Okay.
And they are so excited. So, between now and whenever, it's going to be filled with accomplishing something and realizing that you do the processes right, you've taken one step forward.
Right.
But that's not just within the band. You mentioned Mr. Jewett. And so far with the meetings and the interactions we've had, you can tell he's about leadership and service, not only with his teachers, but he wants to transfer that over to his students as well.
All right.
So I think the school community is going to be great. He's hired some really great teachers from all over the county. I'll give Miss Melissa Pierce a plug. She's coming from Cleveland, and she was in charge of our SGA. She was in charge of all of the clubs. Like, she really was integral in building the culture inside Cleveland High School.
I think she's an English teacher, right?
She is an English teacher.
Yes, I know her.
And she's from Wilson, and she is incredible. And Mr. Jewett hired many teachers who played integral parts in the culture of the school.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, the last question we ask everybody on this podcast, what do you love most about Johnston County?
I love the people. Although we're growing, we still have that small town vibe, which is absolutely awesome.
That is. It's awesome. And 98% of the people that come on this podcast do say it is the people. And that's what I believe is why I love Johnston County as much as I do. Well, we'd like to thank Jason Hurd, the brand new band director at Wilson's Mills High School that opens here in August in just a very short period of time. It's going to be exciting to get a brand new high school. And at the same time, I drove by the Clayton High School the other day, and the walls are up on the new Clayton High School. So a lot of great things happening here in Johnston County. Feel free to reach out to him, support his band, support the new athletic program at that Wilson's Mills High School, and Mr. Jewett and everything they're doing there. A lot of really good people there. I think it's going to be a tremendous success. I'm excited about it. They've been talking about Wilson's Mills High School for probably 15 years, and for it now to get open, I got to congratulate the county commissioners and the school board for everything they've done to get us to that point. As we mentioned earlier, please like, follow, subscribe to this podcast wherever you see it: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, X, LinkedIn. Also tag us in your Instagram stories, Best of Johnston County, and give us a 5-star review down below and tell us what you like about it. Until next time, I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden.
That's the end of today's episode of Best of Johnston County, a show brought to you by the trusted team at Breeden Law Office. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more interesting facets of this community next week. Every story, every viewpoint adds another thread to the rich tapestry of Johnston County. If the legal aspects highlighted raise some questions, help is just around the corner at www.breedenfirm.com.